together.
Umanayim shevet achim gam yachad hine matov umanayim shevet anu 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 gam yachad.
Don't you feel like taking a really nice deep breath in and out? I saw some of you do it, some of you not. Let's take one more deep breath in and out. What we're doing together right here is creating an island in time. We're beginning to float away into Shabbat together, this spacious experience that has no before and no after, just this moment right now, and how grateful we are that all of you are right here. I'm Rabbi Ruth Slotnick. I'm joined by Chava Morel and Taryn Weber, my incredible partners in creating this space of prayer. We're so grateful to Jamie, who is our technological wind beneath our wings. And we are so grateful to Lou and to Phyllis. Hello. I had a senior moment. I was like, it's Phyllis, right? For greeting us, and so grateful not just to those of you who are here, but to those of you who are joining us online. And so I'm going to ask you, if you're in this space, to, if you're able, just turn and face that camera over there, and let's say Shabbat Shalom to everyone at home. And before we say Shabbat Shalom to everyone here, let's take a moment of gratitude to feel grateful that this particular Shabbat gathering is happening on coastal Salish land, and we acknowledge that that's particularly of the Duwamish tribe, and we continue to be in a learning relationship, a neighbor relationship, and a kinship with our indigenous neighbors. And with that said, let's take a moment to say Shabbat Shalom to one another. So you may be sitting next to someone you know. In fact, I know some of you are. Say Shabbat Shalom to that person for sure. And then can you wish someone you don't know Shabbat Shalom? Beautiful. Shalom. And you, really, really, really. So tonight, I'm going to be highlighting the notion of simcha, of joy, especially as it coincides with what it means to be in this last month before the new year begins. This has been a really monumental year in the Jewish for the Jewish people. And I want to ask you, if you have had a moment of simcha, of joy, in the last year, will you please join us to light the candles? So anyone who feels like they have something joyous to celebrate, maybe it was a milestone birthday, maybe an anniversary, maybe something special that only, Louie and Kim, maybe it was a wedding, just saying. Not that I want you to feel like forced to come on up, but if you've had a moment of joy, because really, what we're going to talk about tonight is what a courageous religious act it is to experience joy even in dark times. So who wants to light the light of Shabbat? So we trust you, Rachel, with the candle. It doesn't matter. And Rachel is just pointing out, so we are lighting 3 lights as we have since the first Shabbat after October 7th. Of course, we did give Rachel the trick matches, so, but you're handling it so well. This is your last test of 5784. Poor thing. Try these. We have 3 candles. The 3rd candle is a recognition that we'll keep lighting it until all of the hostages in Israel are accounted for. And as we light them, maybe we want to bring in this beautiful light and take another beautiful deep breath as we bring in Shabbat.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
And to each of you who had joy this year, joy enough to come up to light the lights of the Shabbat, may the light of that joy continue to shine forth for you as you move forward into the new Jewish year. May you grow from joy to joy and strength to strength. Please be seated. And with that, we are reminded that as we bring in Shabbat, the month of Elul is sometimes said to be the month of love between the Holy One and humanity. Elul, in Hebrew, the letters stand for Ani L'Dodi V'Dodi Li. I am my beloved, and my beloved is mine. Elul is a time to remind us that we are beloved and that we can share love in this world. Dodi Li.
Page 11. Dodi li vani lo haroven bashoshanim. Dodi li, Dodi li vani lo haroven bashoshanim.
also welcome in those beautiful angels of Shabbat who, if they see us singing peacefully with a sense of shalom and of ruach, they say Shalom Aleichem. May peace be unto you. Shalom Aleichem 24.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruch Hu Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seidchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Do you feel like your shoulders are a little more relaxed? Maybe you're breathing a little deeper? If that's the case, then we're ready to bring in the presence of Shabbat, which our ancestors imagined as a beloved waiting to welcome in their beloved. We continue with Lecha Dodi, which says, "Come, my friend." Let's bring that presence of Shabbat in, and we'll sing verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. And in that last verse, if you're able, we'll invite you to rise and turn towards the door and see if you can't feel the presence of Shabbat come on in. Lecha Dodi is a few pages prior on page 20.
Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, fenei fenei Shabbat nekavela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, fenei fenei Shabbat nekavela. La 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, fenei fenei Shabbat nekavela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, fenei fenei Shabbat nekavela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Hishmi'anu el ha'miyuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, L'shem u'tiferet v'liti la 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 la. Lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, fenei fenei Shabbat nekavela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, fenei fenei Shabbat nekavela.
Likrat Shabbat lechu v'lecha, ki mikor havarecha, mirosh mekedem nesucha. Sof ma'aseh b'machsheva tefila la 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 la.
Lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, fenei fenei Shabbat nekavela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat likrat kala, fenei fenei Shabbat nekavela. Hitoreri, hitoreri, kiva orech kumi Kavod Adonai alayich nigla la 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 lecha dodi likrat kala penei penei Shabbat nikavelo lecha dodi likrat kala penei penei Shabbat nikavelo.
Boi v'shalom hateret bala gam b'simcha u'v'tzola tachem u'neam segulam boi chala lecha lecha
dodi likrat kala penei penei Shabbat nikavelo lecha dodi likrat kala penei penei Shabbat nikavelo.
And I'll invite you to stay standing if you have the spirit, the koach, as we continue with our call to prayer, the Baruch Hu, page 28.
Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la. Ya la 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 la.
Please join me at the bottom of page 31. The first blessing before we enter into the Shema. Thanks God for the darkness and the light in our lives. And this particular translation of this prayer seems appropriate for this season of the year as we are about to enter into the Yamim Noraim, the days of our time for change, our time for transformation. Please join us. This is an hour of change. Within it, we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, my sibling, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, my sibling, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai, Hamariv Aravim.
Our Shema prayer is surrounded by love, by prayers of love. Ahavat Olam leads into Shema, and Ve'ahavta comes right after Shema. It's like a love sandwich, as my teacher, Cantor Ellen Dreskin, teaches. And Ahavat Olam, at Camp Kalsman, we sing a special melody. I would love to teach it to you now, so why don't you sit down so you can enjoy it more. This is the chorus. The walls are coming down and down and down. The walls are coming down and down and down. And life is going round and round and round. Life is going round and round. Love it will be found and found and found. Love it will be found and found and found. It's all inside of you. It's all inside. It's all inside of you. I'll tell you when your part comes. Oh, heart of mine, lost and find, my home is sometimes near and sometimes far. It's always changing. Oh, heart of mine, take the time to feel the sadness. Love is always near. It seems they go together. The walls are coming down. The walls are coming down and down and life is going round. Life is going round and round and love it will be found. Love it will be found and found and it's all inside of you. It's all inside of you. Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael. Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael. Amcha ahavta. Amcha ahavta. Torah u'mitzvot. Torah u'mitzvot. Chukim u'mishpatim. Otanu limadata. Otanu limadata. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Please turn the page for Shema. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
If you're standing, please be seated as we have the other piece of bread on that love sandwich, the Ve'ahavta, page 36.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'otecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom al levavecha ve'shinantam levanecha ve'dibartam ve'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'derech uv'shochvecha uv'kumecha וקשרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובישעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
So it is said that to be able to feel joy in times of darkness is religious courage. Can you imagine what it felt like for our ancestors to come through Mitzrayim, the dark and narrow place, and to make it through this sea of reeds that miraculously opened up, and then to sing out Mi Chamocha Ba'elim Adonai, who is like you, Holy One, who created this universe that allowed us to taste freedom and to know that our freedom is not complete until everyone is free. Mi Chamocha is on page 40. Please join us. Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel has taught that we should pray as if everything depended on God, but we should act as if everything depended on us. We rise now in body or spirit for the Amidah, our standing prayer, the Tefillah on page 46, where we pray to God as if God can solve all of human woe, but we recognize when we leave the sanctuary, we can act to make it better.
Adonai, Sifatai Tiftach Ufi Yagi Tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu ve'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסר אבות אמהות, ומביאוה מפני Avraham ve'ezrat Sarah. Ata gibor le'olam Adonai, mechayei hakol ata rav lehoshia, morid hatal, mechalkel chayim bechesed, mechayei hakol berachamim rabim, somech noflim verofech cholim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato, lishenei afar, michamocha bal gevurot, umidol melach, melech memit umchaye, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman atala hachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'kadoshim b'chol yom yahalalucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh.
Please join me at the top of 55 as we hope that this Shabbat leads us into the days of awe with a full heart. May these hours of rest and renewal open our hearts to joy and our minds to truth. May all who struggle find rest on this day. May all who suffer find solace. May all who hurt find healing on this day. May all who despair find purpose. May all who hunger find fulfillment on this day. And may this day fulfill its promise. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat. And we'll continue with the rest of the Amidah in silence, perhaps guided by the words on the page through page 62 or by the still small voice within. When your personal prayer is done, please be seated.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. tasim leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha tasim leolam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha tasim leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha tasim leolam. Tasim leolam. Tasim leolam.
I'm going to make a big theological statement right now. If God has a voice, God sounds like Chava and Taran singing together. Do you agree with me? Shalom Rav, indeed. Shalom Rav. What does it mean, to have a Shalom Rav, a great and abundant peace, wholeness, shlemut, a sense that we are all interconnected and that we are sharing our healing with one another. Shalom Rav. We take this dream of how the world ought to be, and we recognize that there are those of us who have walked through the doors of this sanctuary this evening, or maybe are sitting at home, homebound, and feeling in need of pain and in need of a sense of that Shalom Rav, that wholeness that heals, that sense of love that surrounds us. So I'd like to invite you, if you're at home, to share out loud the name of anyone that you're thinking of. If you're here in this sanctuary, I invite you to please share out loud the name of anyone that you'd like to include in our prayers for healing. For everyone we've named out loud and everyone we hold in our hearts, and for all of the innocent civilians in all of the war-torn places in the world, we continue with our Misha Beirach L'Cholim, our prayer for healing, page 253.
May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Avotenu
may each and everyone know a refuah shlema, a renewal of body and soul. Amen. And so I'd like to share just a few words of Torah. And I will say, I know I'm getting a little less neurotic as I get older, because it used to be, I remember saying this to Wendy Marcus when I first moved here. I was like, are you like me? Like, if it's 2 full moons away from Rosh Hashanah, do you get a little spilkus? Do you get a little nervous? She's like, yes. But, I actually this year, it's been such an intense year. I didn't get my Rosh Hashanah shpilkus until now. So I'm feeling like I am, maturing. But the beauty of this time of year is that the Torah portions that we read are in the book of Deuteronomy, the last book of Torah, the first 5 books of the Hebrew Bible. And they really do. They help us. They are kind of like a roadmap for how to spend that last month of the last year, the last month of the Jewish year, moving into the new year. And this week, we are 2 weeks away from Rosh Hashanah, from the new year, from 5785. And as my grandmother would say, 5784, here's your hat, what's your hurry? Go. It has not been an easy year. But this week's Torah portion, Ki Tavo, helps us understand it a little bit. The book of Deuteronomy, as I've said before, some of you have heard me say this. I think the book of Deuteronomy is all about covenantal love. It's all about the brit. It's all about the fact that love obligates us to the other, whether it's another human, whether it's the earth itself, whether it's God. And this week's Torah portion is kind of a sobering Torah portion because it speaks about the consequences of not fulfilling your obligations of love. And especially for us who are human beings, for us who have the ability each day to make choices that allows us to live our lives filled with love. What this week's Torah portion has is something that I think people get a little turned off from the Hebrew Bible by, because it has blessings and it has curses, and here's what happens if you do things right, and here's what happens if you do things wrong. And it's kind of like the exact idea of God that many of us have already rejected. Like, we don't want that old man sitting in the sky saying, you're in, you're out, you're in the book of life, you're out of the book of life. That doesn't speak to us in the 21st century. But what I'd like to suggest is that what this week's Torah portion tells us is that there are consequences for how we act in the world. And maybe if we don't think of them as blessing and curses, what if we think about if we're really acting from a place of love, of covenantal love, we release into the world life-affirming forces, things that help create bonds between people or help create a sense of health for the earth or help us recognize a higher purpose in our lives. And if we don't act from a place of love, maybe it's not a curse, but maybe we release destructive forces. Maybe we let our anger get away from us, and it hurts the relationships between us. Maybe we disregard what our responsibility is to the earth around us. Maybe we disregard our own higher purpose. So I'd like to suggest that this week's Torah portion that has blessings and curses and says, this is how you have to live. It can be like kind of a scary thing to read 2 weeks before you're about to enter into Rosh Hashanah and wonder if you're going to make it into the book of life this year or not. Because, the high holy days, the Yamim Noraim, the days of awe, are not called the days of awe because they don't scare the bejesus out of us. but because they are intended to help us. They were intended to help our ancestors in the ancient world, our ancestors who lived 2,000 years ago, our ancestors who lived 500 years ago, our ancestors who lived 100 years ago, and us. They are intended to help us live a more meaningful life and to create the world we want to pass on to the next generation, and to help our descendants learn how to do the same. And so, this week, as we read these words from this week's Torah portion, in the wake of 5784, in the wake of a year that released the war between Hamas and Israel, in the wake of everything that followed October 7th, we wonder, how do we find meaning in all of this, wherever you stand, whomever you are? And I'd like to suggest that the book of Deuteronomy gives us a pathway forward. The book of Deuteronomy mentions 12 times that we are obligated to experience simcha, joy. 12 times in the book of Deuteronomy, twice in this particular Torah portion, which is a little heavier on the curses than I would personally like, we are told that we must recognize that part of our responsibility in living a life of love, of covenanted love, is to live a life that allows us to experience joy. Joy is an essential part of what it means to be a Jew of faith, I would suggest. And I learned this from Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, who likes to suggest that joy is countercultural to the Western approach to what it means to find a life of fulfillment. Because what are we told in our Constitution, which some of us take really religiously, right? What are we told in our Constitution? That we have the right to the pursuit of happiness. Rabbi Sachs suggests happiness is not joy. Happiness, he suggests, is more about self-fulfillment. Happiness is a state that we can only attain when we make ourselves satisfied. But joy, simcha, the Jewish idea that we are obligated out of a life of love to connect with others, joy is always and only experienced in community. And it discovers us by surprise when we allow ourselves to be in community. So each of the obligations in the book of Deuteronomy, especially the two that are in this week's Torah portion, reminds us that we are obligated to come together for festivals, for Shabbat, in relationship, at life cycle moments. That's where we'll find simcha. That's where we'll find joy. In this week's Torah portion in particular, we're told that we celebrate the abundance that is in our lives that allows us to feel a sense of gratitude no matter how dark the world is around us. And I'd like to just share some words by Rabbi Sachs. He says that celebrating together binds us as a people. That and the gratitude and humility that come from seeing our achievements are not self-made, but are blessings from something beyond ourselves. The pursuit of happiness can lead ultimately to self-regard and indifference to the suffering of others, but not so simcha, or joy. Joy connects us to others and to God. Joy is the ability to celebrate life as such, knowing that tomorrow may bring something we are not hoping for. And yet, we recognize that no matter what our suffering, isolation, hardship may be, we will never lack the religious courage to rejoice. And that is my message for us on this particular Shabbat, the second to last Shabbat of 5784. Do we have the religious courage to feel joy? Could we live a life in 5785 without joy? Totally. Totally. But I ask you, is that a life? I would suggest to you, I know it's an election season. I know we are lifting up our Constitution and hoping that we continue to live in a democracy here and elsewhere. But let us not pursue happiness in our lives. Let us instead pursue joy. Let our time of reflection during these days of awe help us remember that what makes things meaningful is to find community with one another. We don't know what 5785 will bring us, but we do know that the capacity for joy gives us the strength and the meaning to endure. May we, like our ancestors, have the religious courage to experience joy in 5785 and thereby pave the way for our descendants to also know joy. Kenya Hiratzon. We continue now with Aleinu L'Shabeach. It's at the top of page 282. Please rise in body or spirit.
Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon ha'kol, la'tet gedula liotzer breshit, shehu notesh shamayim v'yoser haaretz, hu moshav yikaro b'shamayim mima'o, hu shchinatu zo b'govhei meromim, Hu Eloheinu Einod, Va'anachnu Korim, Umishtachavim Umodim, Lifnei Melech, Malchei HaMachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, V'nemar L'Haya Adonai, Melech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad.
Please be seated. So today, Rabbi Laura and I were preparing a little bit for next Saturday evening, which is Slichot. I'm so excited to say that Rabbi Laura and Chava will be creating a poetry and song circle before we move into our service that enters us into the season of awe. And we were talking about how it's such a threshold moment, the gates that we enter into this season. And I mentioned one of my favorite poems that I shared with Rabbi Laura, and it was such a joy to share it with her that I felt like I wanted to share it with you now as we come to this moment of memory. Some of you will know it. I know you will. It's translated by Stephen Mitchell. It's by one of my favorite poets, Yehuda Amichai. It's called On the Day of Atonement. On Yom Kippur in 1967, the year of forgetting, I put on my dark holiday clothes and walked to the old city of Jerusalem. For a long time, I stood in front of an Arab's hole-in-the-wall shop, not far from the Damascus Gate, a shop with buttons and zippers and spools of thread in every color and snaps and buckles, a rare light and many colors like an open ark. I told him in my heart that my father too had a shop like this with threads and buttons. I explained to him in my heart about all the decades and the causes and the events why I am now here and my father's shop was burned there, and he is buried here. When I finished, it was time for the closing of the gates. He too lowered the shutters and locked the gate, and I returned with all the worshipers home. We are united in love. We are united in memory. That is part of what it means to be a member of the human family. And so we always make sure to take a moment to share memories. On this week, we are remembering Bernice Zeichner, mother of Ken, Sally, and Pete, grandmother of Noah, Aaron, and Jordan, grandmother-in-law of Taryn, great-grandmother to Alana, Ezra, Margot, and Mo. And we're also remembering Chuck Savage in this week that has passed, husband of Carly, father of Tina and Casey and Kelly and Stephanie and Allison and Dylan, and grandfather of Owen and Will. We are also in the period of Shiloshim for these loved ones. Harry Rode, grandfather of Jennifer Koch, great-grandfather to Simon and Asher. Chuck Glatstein, husband of Mindy, father of Ben, Jeremy, and Gabe. Grandfather of 7, including Leo, Sam, and Jonah, and father-in-law of Teresa. We're also remembering Elaine Leviton, wife of Kevin McCarthy, mother of Alicia and David. Malcolm Garber, parent of Michelle, Steve, Amy, Mark, and Stephanie, grandparent of Angie, Christina, Jeffrey, and Josh. And Thomas Simon, father of Dan, father-in-law of Tessa, and grandfather to Emma and Henry. And we are also still in the period of Shiloshim for the 6 Israeli hostages who were released in the weeks that have passed: Hirsch Goldberg Polin, Eden Yerushalmi, Ori Danino, Alex Lobanov, Carmel Gott, Alma Sarusi. We are also remembering the Yartsides, the anniversary of the death of these loved ones: Randall Ahrensberg, Harold Berman, Natalie Bird, Mort Cohn, Martin Dubois, Anna Erdrich, Julia Eulenberg, Morton Fine, Don Finkel, Margaret Schumacher, Minion Friedman, Gerda Frumpkin, Rick Folgen, Philip Ginsberg, Joseph Greenberg, William Gross, Mark Gross, Bronco Grunbaum, Kadja Hawley, Chris Heschalt, David Jacobs, Marion Jansen, Dallas Johnson, Ethel Kaufman, Glenn Kaufman, Sean Kinney, Sarah Klein, Kenneth Lemaster, Ruth Labarsky, Zita Manick, Francis Meyer, Ernest Mendelson, Ethel Mullen, Michael Norman, William Olson, Betty Papa George, Richard Porteous, Joe Salzberg, Thelma Samuth, Mo Schachter, Marilyn Siegel, Joe Siegel, Evelyn Silverman, Sidney Silverstone, William Simon, Mike Strausser, Sidney Stutman, Jerry Swartz, Jack Wexler, Herbert Weiss, Marcia Weiss, Samuel Welt, Raymond Winnick, Joseph Zabinski, and Michael Zisman. I also invite you now to share out loud the name of anyone that you'd like to include in this time of memory, and if you choose to, please share their relationship with you. If you have lost a loved one in the last week or the last month, I invite you to please rise and remain standing. And if you are in mourning, in the year of mourning, to please rise and remain standing. And if you are here this evening remembering a loved one on their yard site, to please rise. And let us take note of the mourners among us as we rise in body or spirit as one community to keep the legacy and the memory of their loved ones alive. The Mourner's Kaddish is on page 294. Please join me. Yikadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah, v'alma divrach hirute v'amlik malkute, b'chayechon uvyomechon, uvchaye dekol Beit Yisrael, bagala uvisman kari v'imru, amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mivrach le'olam olmei olmaya, Yitbarak v'yishtabak v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yitalal shmei dekudasha brechu, le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran b'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru, amen. Zikronam livracha, may their memories be for blessing. Please be seated. And I'm just going to check. I am so excited to say, no, but can I borrow your mic? That would be perfect. I am so excited to say that I'm seeing the orthopedist on Monday, and so I will not have this stupid boot on for the high holidays. It does. Oh, I got this one. Should I not use this one? Is that okay? Yeah? So it does feel like it would be inappropriate not to take a simcha moment. If I'm going to preach about finding joy in our lives, then we're going to do our minhag, our custom, which is to say, if you have had something joyous that has happened to you in the last week, or you're anticipating something joyous that's about to happen in the next week, can you please share it? And it could be something big, like a milestone birthday, a job change, new school, or something small that just is special to you. And oh my goodness, we have our first volunteer, and if you'll just share your name, please.
My name is Julie Morell. Yeah. I'm about to have my 75th birthday. So,
Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach. You really don't want me to sing, but Yom Huledet Sameach, Yom Huledet Sameach. But Julie, really, 75 is just like a little drop in the bucket, because you know there is the saying, may you live to be 120, with the strength of a 20-year-old and the wisdom of a 100-year-old. Mazel tov to you. That's beautiful. When's your birthday? Oh. Before the new year. Wonderful. Any other simchas?
I'm Louie, and a dubious simcha is that a workshop that I was scheduled to teach next weekend just got canceled, and I was completely unprepared to do it. So I was so happy, and I'm still.
My friends, that's the difference between happiness and joy. That is joy. Mazel tov to you. Yes.
My name is Nix, and this last weekend we celebrated my grandma's 80th birthday with all of my family from my mom's side, and that was really great because they live all around in Idaho and on San Juan Island, so we don't really get to see each other very often, so it was really nice to get together and spend some time together.
Definition of joy, you have to share it with others. Thank you, Nix.
I'm Annie, and my dad, after 21 years of working at Intel, retired this week. So he's going on to a new phase of life, and we're celebrating with a trip to Europe. So.
And if you need rabbinic, chaperoning, I know some people. Oh, there's one. Oh, fantastic. Share
My name's Sam, and for the first time in my life, I'm gonna go camping. So that should be fun.
Where are you going to go?
Deception Pass.
Oh, nice. Though I have to say, Deception Pass sounds like an ominous place for the. It's going to be awesome. That's awesome, Sam. Wonderful. Thank you. Anyone else want to share Simcha? Well, with that said, then, I think we've decided that we're going to do the closing song and then the blessings. So I'm going to let you take over.
We can join our voices together in a prayer for peace. If you need the words, they're at the bottom of page 294 where we just were, or right here. Ose shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
I'll just share that I heard some other joyous news, but we won't advertise that. But I'm going to invite Julie and anyone else who has a birthday in September to join Chava and I up here. Come on up to help us sweeten this Shabbat. Oh my goodness, look at all these September birthdays. Come on up. And we're going to continue with our blessing over a Kiddush, page 5, I believe.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho v'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit ki hu yom tehila lemikrae kodesh zecher litziat Mitzrayim kivanu v'acharta ve'otanu kidashta in kol hamim ve'shavat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon inchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh ha-Shabbat.
And if you'll make it a kosher one, and may you all live to be 120. And so, l'chaim. And now I'll invite you, in whatever way feels comfortable to you, to maybe, if we could, if you're comfortable standing up, if you'd prefer to do it elbow to elbow or maybe arm in arm, so we can all connect with one another as we say our blessings over the challah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'tei avon. Thank you, Phyllis, Lou, Jamie, Tarin, and Jose, Alberto. And may you have a sweet Shabbat filled with simcha.
Shabbat shalom.